Hold on, Bears fans! Do you think Hallis Hall is just planning pretty signings and smiles for the camera? Wrong! The house is on fire, and Ryan Poles has 72 hours to prevent Chicago from becoming the new joke of the NFC North. First, that invisible brain on the offensive line is one step away from fleeing to Atlanta, and if he leaves, do you know what awaits your star QB? Public humiliation every time a defensive tackle chases him like a butcher after a chop. And we're not talking about just any center, we're talking about the only one who saves million-dollar contracts. But that's just the beginning. Have you seen the disaster in Cincinnati? Imagine Caleb demanding $60 million a year, Rome asking for a palace, and DJ Moore becoming the ghost of Allen Robinson. This is not the future, it's a curse. If Poles doesn't grab the bull by the horns now, Williams' salary will strangle the team worse than a linebacker on a blitz. And the final bomb? Ben Johnson is after a move that will make even the most loyal fans spit out their old style, a tight end in the top 10 that no one saw coming. Genius or madness? If they hit, they revolutionize the offense. If they miss, forget the line, forget the defense, forget the dignity. Click subscribe, hit like, and don't turn off your phone. This is not content, it's a warning. I'll say this without mincing words, Ryan Poles has to make a move now. Yes, right now. The 2025 free agency market is about to explode, and if the Bears want to give Caleb Williams, or will it be another QB, the tools to succeed, they need more than a star guard. I'm talking about Drew Dalman, the center from the Falcons who could change everything in Chicago. Why? Let me tell you. First, understand, the center is not just a guy who snaps the ball. He's the brain of the line. And Coleman Shelton, with all due respect, is not the second coming of Olin Kreutz. His PFF grade of 66.4? Number 17 in the league. Does that seem enough to protect a $200 million franchise to you? Of course not. But Dalman, with a 78.8 PFF, fifth best center in 2024, even though he played only 8 games, came back from an ankle injury and dominated like nothing happened. Impeccable technique? Yes. Explosive movement to block in the zone? Yes. Pass blocking win rate of 95.1%? Ninth in the NFL. But here's the dilemma. Will Poles pay whatever it takes? Spotrac talks about $20.2 million over 3 years. Ha! Creed Humphreys signed for $72 million over 4 years in 2024. Do you think Dalman will settle for crumbs? No way! And I ask you, should Chicago, with the 5th most cap space, pull the trigger even if it costs $12 million a year? I think so. Because without an elite center, it doesn't matter if they bring in Trey Smith or Trent Williams, the pressure will come up the middle like a tsunami. Now, don't get me wrong. Trey Smith would be a Robotron at guard, but Drew Dalman is the piece that connects everything. Matt Bowen from ESPN said it, put Dalman next to Smith, and you'll have a line that opens holes like they're mining gold. And you know what? Bowen is right. Dalman doesn't just block, he orchestrates. Reads defenses, adjusts protections, and at 26 years old, he's an investment for a decade. But beware! The story doesn't end there. Is Dalman made of glass? He played only 8 games in 2024. Is that ankle a time bomb? It might be, but when he came back in week 13, he played like he came from another planet. And I tell you, if Poles doesn't take a risk here, what the hell is he thinking? There's no time for projects. Caleb, or whoever, needs protection now. Final mix, if the Bears don't sign Drew Dalman, this team will continue to be almost in the NFC North. Do you think I'm exaggerating? No! Without an elite center, the QB will live under pressure, the offense won't flow, and goodbye Super Bowl dream. And now, the key question for you, should the Bears pay whatever it takes for Dalman even if it exceeds $12 million annually, or is it too much risk because of his injuries? Do you know what I'm talking about? T. Higgins and the Bengals. And why should this matter to us? Because this is not just a warning, it's a mirror of the Bears' future. Yes, you heard right. Let's get to the point. According to reports, the Bengals will not let T. Higgins go. They will franchise tag him for $26 million, and while they try to keep him, Jamar Chase is about to become the most expensive receiver in history. And here comes the question everyone is asking. What the hell does this have to do with Chicago? I tell you, everything. Imagine this scenario, fans. If Caleb Williams explodes as we expect under Ben Johnson, do you know what will happen? He will break NFL records with an extravagant contract. $60 million per year. Minimum. And then there's Rome Duns, who if he lives up to expectations, do you think he'll settle for crumbs? No! He will demand $100 million or more. And don't forget DJ Moore, who at 28 will want his slice of the PIE before he declines. And now? How the heck are they going to pay those three, keep a competitive team, and not fall into the Bengals trap? I ask you, do you think it's possible? Because Cincinnati is already on the verge of collapse, sacrificing their sack leader, Trey Hendrickson, to keep their stars. And the Eagles with Hurts, Brown, and Smith? The same drama. Here's the harsh truth, Bears family. In the NFL, elite players don't reach free agency. They get tagged, traded, or given a blank check. The Bengals won't let Higgins go for a measly comp pick. If they don't keep him, they'll trade him for draft picks and let another team suffer with his contract. And the Bears? Thank God, they don't need receivers now. But this is a lesson. If they want to keep their future stars, they will have to pay or suffer. Can you imagine Caleb asking for $60 million a year, Rome demanding his mega extension, and DJ Moore asking for his last big contract? It's unsustainable. And meanwhile, the team will have to cut back in other areas. Defense? Forget signing big names. And this is not all. Premium positions, QB, receiver, tackle, pass rusher, are impossible to retain without sacrifices. Do you think finding a pass rusher like Montez Sweat in the second round of the draft is easy? No! Either you draft well, or you have to pay whatever it takes in free agency, if someone good even reaches it. And guess what? The Bears are entering an era where Caleb Williams could be the face of the league. But with that honor comes a price, a salary that will strangle the cap space. And Chicago will have to be smart. Do you think Ryan Poles is ready to handle this financial puzzle? Here's my opinion, repeated, the Bears must take advantage of these cheap years of Caleb. If Williams is as good as we think, his rookie contract is a blessing. They have 4 to 5 years to build a championship team before his salary chokes them. If they don't, they'll end up like the Bengals, with an expensive QB, a couple of stars, and an unbalanced roster. And I leave you with this. Do you think the Bears can avoid Cincinnati's fate? Or are they doomed to repeat the same mistakes? I'll tell you this right now. The Bears management is considering a move that no one expected. Yes, you heard right. Ben Johnson, our new head coach, could be pushing for the team to break with traditional strategy and select Penn State's tight end, Tyler Warren, with the 10th overall pick. And you know what? This is not just any rumor. This comes directly from the halls of Hallis Hall. Let me put this in context. In Detroit, under Johnson's command, the Lions ran 2 tight end formations in 32.2% of their plays last season. And what was the result? Sam Laporta became a nightmare for defenses, with over 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. Now ask yourselves, why couldn't Cole Kmet, as solid as he is, benefit from a partner like Warren? Didn't you see what DJ Moore did when he shared the field with Rome Duns? The duplicity of weapons is key in modern NFL. But here's the debate I bring you today. Does Tyler Warren deserve the 10th pick? Let me drop the numbers. 104 receptions, 1,233 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2024. 19 forced missed tackles, and Pro Football Focus gave him a 93.4 receiving grade. What more do you need to see? This young man is not a traditional blocker. He's a dynamic weapon that could revolutionize Caleb Williams. And don't come at me with the offensive line or defense being a priority. What good is protecting Williams if he has no one to throw the ball to in critical situations? Dakota Jones and Austin Booker are growing, but do you really think a passer like Williams doesn't deserve a security blanket like Warren? In Detroit, Laporta was the key to unlocking Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Imagine Swift and Warren running schemes together. But watch out! Not everything is rosy. Selecting Warren in the top 10 would be a huge risk. Is he a better prospect than an elite tackle like Kelvin Banks or a corner like Travis Hunter? That's the question Ryan Poles and Johnson must ask. Is it worth prioritizing the scheme over pure talent? Here's my verdict, and I say it without fear. The Bears must go for Warren. Why? Because Ben Johnson didn't come to Chicago to play someone else's game. He came to impose his legacy. And if he succeeded in Detroit with 2 tight ends, why not replicate it here with an even greater talent? Warren is not a luxury, he's a necessity. But now, I want to know what you think. Should the Bears surprise everyone and select Tyler Warren in the top 10? Or would it be a historic mistake to ignore the offensive line or defense? Bears Nation, attention! The revolution in Chicago is underway, and your opinion is key to this journey. First question, would you bet everything paying more than $12 million for Drew Dalman's talent, even with his injuries in sight? Is it a necessary risk or financial madness? But it doesn't end here. Do you think the Bears have what it takes to dodge the Cincinnati curse and avoid repeating past mistakes? Or, on the contrary, are we facing another cycle of broken hopes and bad decisions? And now, the final debate, would you break the mold by selecting Tyler Warren in the top 10 of the draft? Or would it be an epic mistake to prioritize him over an offensive/defensive line star? Defend your stance right here. This is your platform, Bears fans. Leave your answers in the comments. Are you ready for this season to be historic, or do you fear another disaster? And if you want to be part of the family that defines Chicago's future, subscribe and don't miss a second of this adventure. Together we'll make noise.